Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. With me always, I got some guests. First, we got Miami Flash PE. Say what's up to the people, Flash.
What's going on, everybody? You can follow me at Miami Clutch PE on Twitter, and you can find all the agendas I'm pushing on the Miami Heat and the Miami Dolphins.
And then following him, we got not the actual Jimmy Buckets, but someone that's still fun to have on the pod. Say what's up to the people, Jimmy Buckets.
Hola, amigos and amigas. It's Jimmy Buckets here on Twitter. Jimmy Buckets with four Z's. Follow me, I will follow you right back. And join us in the Heat versus the World pod for all the up to date Miami Heat info, news, and shenanigans.
And then right after that, we have Mr. Jake Wild. Say what's up to the people, Jake.
What is good, Heat Nation? Catch me out on Twitter at Wild Thoughts. E at the end of Wild, two S's at the end of Thoughts.
And then last but not least, we have our female correspondent, Miss Angelina Martel. Say what's up, Ange.
What's going on, guys? It's Angelina Martel. You can follow me on Twitter at Angie Martel with two E's for our latest Miami Heat updates. And just check out the new article I wrote about the Miami Heat playoff preview. Link is in bio.
All right, so let's get started with today's episode. So obviously, we got to talk about the Heat's playoff matchup against the Bucks. But before we do that, let's talk about something interesting that went down. So to those who don't know, yesterday the NBA announced the finalists for their regular season awards. And there's been two campaigns we were pulling for. One which was Jim VP, although we weren't too confident about that one. And then Bam DPOY, whatever you do the hashtag as. But anyways, yesterday specifically for Defensive Player of the Year, they announced the finalists, and much to everyone's dismay, Bam was not a finalist. Instead, the first two was Rudy Gobert and Ben Simmons, two guys who we basically knew was going to be finalists in the first place. And then last but not least, Draymond Green. So this was definitely very, for me, disrespectful to see. And that's not even the worst part because poll results came out today. And this is what the percentages were for each player ranked. So the top three was obviously the finalists. First place, Gobert. Second place, Simmons. Third place, Draymond Green. So you'll probably think, oh, well, maybe Bam is in fourth place. Well, guess what? You're wrong. Because after that, you have Clint Capella. And get this, we have a five-way tie for fifth place. Hear this out. So you got Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Giannis, Matisse Thybulle, and then Kentavious Caldwell Pope. This is real, people. This is real, 100%. So I'm gonna have you guys say what you gotta say, but all I need to say is don't pay attention to these type of awards anymore. It's bull. It's obvious the system is just trash, and honestly, you don't know what to expect from these people, these media people, and whoever else votes for these type of awards. So without further ado, let's get into this. Flash, the floor is yours.
Okay. So, I've openly declared, last episode, if you guys heard, I've openly declared war against the city of Utah and the city of Philadelphia. And actually the state of Utah, my bad. So I guess you would expect the NBA to do some crap like that. Then you get Draymond Green, who's
Sure.
all respect to Draymond Green. All respect to him. He's a good defender, very elite, but better than Bam. And then you got, I need to talk to whoever voted for Kentavious Caldwell Pope to be tied with Bam Adebayo. What are we doing here? This isn't even funny anymore. Like, Kentavious Caldwell Pope. Oh my God, I'm rarely at a loss for words, but like, Jesus, dude. You got Bam losing DPOY to Pepe Le Pew, Donkey from Shrek, and Kangaroo Jack.
I'm done.
And I don't understand. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I can't even fire off hot takes in this because it doesn't make sense. Bam isn't fourth, and he's tied it like in a, I don't know what Joe just said, in a 4 or 5 way tie for fifth.
Yep.
Like, what are we doing here? This basically tells me that Bam isn't going to be first team all defense, and that's a crime. That's a crime. You have
he might not even be second. They might slap him on third, and then I'm gonna seriously boycott the NBA. Then.
For all defense, that's the problem. For all defense, there is no third team, so that's even.
I mean, I'm being facetious in that comment.
Yeah. I get what you mean, but then you have, in my opinion, Jimmy and Bam should have been all defensive first teams.
Of course,
and now we're talking about one of them probably not making it there anymore, and it's such an awful job by the media. The media does not know what they're doing.
They've always hated us. They'll continue to hate.
Like, we always talk about Miami bias, and everybody says, "Oh, you guys are just salty and whatever." But this is clear Miami bias. What's going on here? That's all I got to say about these clubs.
They're jealous of where we live, and they're jealous of our sports teams. They're jealous of our fans. They're jealous of everything that we have. As an organization, as a fan base, as anything in any South Florida sports, whether it be the Heat, the Dolphins, the Canes, the Panthers, you name it, they're jelly, bro. It's like people hate because it's Miami. We have perfect weather, we have hot women, we have good food, we have the best sports, we have the best organizations. People are jealous. It's just that's why they hate. I mean, that's the end result, and it's whatever, So this to everybody who don't know, but if you know, then you know. So it is what it is. It's whatever. Mm-hmm. We're good.
Jake, what about you?
Here are my thoughts, and I think first off, I want to start with a tweet that I found from Jack Walsh. Shout out to you. Basically, he had broken down the top 3 finalists and what their field goal percentage against is for when they're guarding all-stars. So basically what these all-stars are shooting against them. Rudy, Ben, and Draymond, the all-stars are shooting around 47-48% against all of them, which is obviously not, it doesn't tell the whole story by any means, but, that's what they're giving up. When you look at Bam against all-stars, they are shooting 36.4% against him. That's not an opinion. It's not black, it's not a gray area. That is just an objective fact. When players of any caliber are being guarded by Bam, they're basically in prison. And the fact that the media continues to push a guy like Rudy Gobert over a man that can guard 1 to 5, go over and under screen, switch on to anyone, it just shows that they are stuck in an era that just is no longer. It's just his past. And I've name dropped this pod a couple times, but on JJ Redick's podcast, Old Man in the Three, he had Kevin Durant on, and they were talking about defense and how people really don't, like, the common person doesn't really understand what makes good defense. And they threw a lot of shade at Rudy Gobert, a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, as a guy that, yeah, of course, great rim defender, great, elite guy to have. If you're playing zone, he's an elite anchor. Gets a lot of shot blocks, but he can't switch. And at the end of games in 2021, when teams are running all sorts of sets, trying to create mismatches, he is actually a liability. He actually becomes a guy you want a guard or a quick forward to switch on. And the fact that that guy is probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year is a travesty. And not to reiterate what everyone else said, but
Amen.
Bam should be the Defensive Player of the Year.
That's perfect, bro. That's freaking perfect. You could not have said that better.
Thank you.
I could not reiterate that better. That's perfect.
Because you know what you're doing there. You're making him. That would be his third Defensive Player of the Year, right? You're putting him in the same category. You're putting him in the category of Dwight Howard, of like prime Dwight Howard.
It's
Udonis Haslam will take care of Dwight Howard here. we got that taken care of.
But you're putting Rudy Gobert in the category of Dwight Howard. Like, what are we doing here? Media voting is stupid. Media voting has just been outdated now, and they need to find a new way to declare these awards.
Yeah, I really, I've always been an advocate for having a player vote be involved because how could you? Who knows anything more about what's going on than the players?
Player vote. You are 100% right, because the coaches, the staff, the media, they're all or most of them are biased. But I think if you had a real player vote, and they know, because they know who's locking them up every game, they know Bam's shutting them down every game, and we're all pissed about this. We can tell by how we're talking about it, because we know who the real best defensive player in the league is, and he just happens to play for the team that we're fans of. But we're not being biased. We're being real. You go and look at stats, like you said. Look at the stats. Go and look at the stats of who he's guarded and how they do against other people, and then look at the stats of when Bam guards them. It's astronomically different. And these are the best so-called quote unquote best players in the NBA. Yeah, right. Put Bam on them, and they're a little pussycat.
Then, Ange, what about you?
Man, as soon as I saw Barry Jackson tweet out that Bam was not a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, I had to convince myself that it wasn't real. But then again, Barry Jackson is a very reliable source of information such as that. And so what pissed me off even more was that I had tweeted out about it and expressed my feelings, of course, because who wouldn't be upset that someone who's been ranked at least third for Defensive Player of the Year for months, that is not even considered a finalist, just angered me so much. And I've had people say, well, Ben Simmons can do what Bam can do. Okay, so why not include Bam along with Ben Simmons if he can do exactly what he can do? If you think about it, Bam can guard 1 through 5, can do what Ben Simmons and Rudy Gobert can do in 1, and is still not a finalist. And the stats he puts up against star players when he's guarding them, stats don't lie, And it's just it's a shame to see it go out that way. And the fact that he's in a 5-way tie with random scrub heat killer Contavious Caldwell Pope. Are you freaking serious, bro? I can't. I'm at a loss for words.
I'm done too. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, honestly, now I'm ever since All-Star, I knew the NBA system was just flawed and biased, because for some reason
it's always been.
The NBA just hates to see Miami win, and that's not our fault. That's theirs, and I'm just gonna leave it at that because that's all I have to say.
The NBA only liked Miami when LeBron was here. That's it.
And if Rudy Gobert does win it for the 3rd time in a row, that just shows you that the NBA has favorites. So that's all I'm going to say.
Right. And then, I feel like if the media just simply covered Bam more, and then also, obviously, with Miami not being a top 4 team, I think they overlooked that too much, to the point where they were like, oh, screw it, Bam shouldn't be a finalist or whatever. It's such a bold thing. And, I brought this up in a past episode of the pod. The some of the things that factor into these awards are just bull. It's not the first time a Heat player has been snubbed, especially Bam. Last year, he should have definitely received most improved player, and instead they gave it to Ingram. At this point, it's screw it. Let these clowns do whatever they want to do, because at the end of the day, there's one thing that the media and all these other people can't influence, and that's who wins the NBA playoffs. And that's something I want to talk about now. So just in case y'all have been living under a rock for some time, it came out that Miami's going to be playing Milwaukee in the first round of the playoffs. And boy, is this a fun one for many reasons. I've been wanting this rematch for a while now, because I'm sick and tired of some of y'all calling us bubble flukes. So it's time for us to show y'all what we really about. So, I feel like there's a lot of things that factor into this series. So one thing that I want to talk about with you guys first, let's discuss the series from last year and how much the players and teams have changed since then. Because, we look at the changes the Bucks made, and so have the Heat, because these certainly, in my opinion, are two very different teams from last year. You know, with the Bucks going out getting Drew Holiday, and then you look at Miami going out making some changes of their own. You know, bringing in players like Ariza to replace Crowder, Dedmon, and all these other guys. You know, what's y'all take on all that? We'll start off with you, Jake.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously a lot of change. The biggest one I would say for sure is the addition of Drew Holiday. Eric Bledsoe is at this point in his career a lot more of a name than he is an effective player. Just looking back, towards last year in our series, he had 11 points a game. Shot 33% from the floor, and he's lost all his athleticism. But bringing in a guy like Drew Holiday to replace him, a very, very good two-way player that can actually shoot. He's actually shooting around 40% from three this year. It just makes everything we have to do a lot more difficult. Last year, obviously all the Heat fans love to talk about the wall. We're going to build the wall around Giannis, and it works. But I think with the addition of a guy like Drew Holiday, it makes it a lot more difficult. Having a guy with elite vision that can do a lot of different things. They're doing a lot more of forcing switches onto bringing guys like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton onto weaker defenders, and they're utilizing their team a lot more. So I think that obviously the addition of Drew Holiday makes a lot of our scheme a lot more difficult. On the Heat side of things, obviously we brought in Ariza, and he's been very good, at least comparable to what we could expect from Jay Crowder. But one thing I wanted to bring up, that wasn't a roster move that I think is a X factor in this series, is the fact that, we have Kendrick Nunn now. And yeah, we had him before, but for all intents and purposes, he really, we all know how he was last year. Things went down. He wasn't too effective. But this year, he's flirting with 50, 40, 90 numbers. He has been absolutely elite. And I mean like elite over the last couple months. And to add a guy like that, if he can carry that into the playoffs, someone that you can rely on to get buckets at all times, I think it's going to be huge. And I think that, when you're the Bucks, Drew Holiday, maybe they brought him in and originally was going to guard a guy like Jimmy, but now they have to focus on Kendrick Nunn. And, even if now Drew is on Nunn, that's a wash in my eyes. If we got a guy now that's like, dominating on offense, that, Drew's great on D, but if he has to focus on Nunn, I think it's, like I said, it's kind of a wash. And we really need him in this series, as well as, guys that have progressed a little more. I think Bam, looking at him, he's progressed since last year and, always now, with the mid-range jumper. There's been a lot of changes from both teams. But what I like about the Heat in this series is what hasn't changed, and that is Jimmy and Bam. And I'm still feeling pretty good about it.
And then what about you, Flash?
Right. So Jake pretty much mentioned all the changes. I think Drew Holiday was a really good addition. I think we should really appreciate the Bucks for the addition also of Bobby Portis. He's been playing really good. I think he's one of the top 3-point shooters in terms of percentage this year. So he's been great, especially playing off of Giannis. So I think we can't underestimate that. As for the Heat, basically what you said, we had quote unquote Kendrick Nunn last year, but he didn't play. He wasn't playing at a high level. Now he's going to play, and he's going to see a lot of minutes. He's going to start. So I think that, the Bucks haven't seen Kendrick Nunn, as the Bucks haven't seen Dwayne Dedmon. They haven't seen him like that in the playoffs.
They haven't seen Trevor Ariza. They haven't seen Trevor Ariza either.
That's right. They haven't seen Trevor Ariza. They haven't seen these players, and they haven't seen this version of Bam that shoots mid-range jumpers with confidence. And I think from what I've observed from the Bucks defensive scheme, they try to take away the three, and they lock the paint down. So that mid-range area is going to be a really interesting sweet spot, and the person that's really good at doing that is Kendrick Nunn. He's a very, very, very effective mid-range shooter. Jimmy has nice. This very year, compared to last year, Jimmy has found his mid-range shot. He hasn't found his three as much, but his mid-range shot has been going in. Bam, we've talked about his improvements in the mid-range game. So I think what's going to win us this series is the mid-range. because we're going to have Duncan. We're going to have these guys shooting threes. Duncan didn't even have his best series last year. He didn't even really have a good playoffs until maybe the finals, because the finals he did pretty good. We have Duncan. They haven't seen Duncan in a really good form in the playoffs. You had Jay Crowder doing that work. Now you don't have Jay Crowder. Now Duncan has another year of experience. And then you have Tyler, who, aside from one game, and that was the game against Milwaukee, he's been playing really good since he came back. So I think Miami they peaked at the right time with these new players. They seem to be going right with each other. Can't underestimate what Goran has been doing either. He's been rounding back into playoff Goran kind of form. So I really like this, and I'm very confident on this matchup. And this isn't just from a biased Heat fan perspective. I really like that Miami has peaked at the right time, and these players has peaked at the right time.
And then Jimmy, what about you?
I couldn't agree more with Clutch and Wild. They hit all the nail on the head with everything they said completely. One thing that I may throw in is I'm not worried about the inside. Like, Bam will destroy Lopez. That's not a question. One of the things I'm worried about is Bobby Portis. I feel that might be an X factor because he can hit threes. He can play inside out.
47% from three, by the way.
Yeah,
he shoots 47%.
That's the random Heat killer for us for the Bucks, and he's not even a starter. But that's the one I'm worried about. Is not even a starter. Is Portis. I'm not worried about. We have Bam and Jimmy, like we mentioned before, snubbed the two of the top 5 defensive players in the league. Snubbed, obviously, because of bias, but whatever. It is what it is. But we still have them, and we know how good they are. So, you might throw any of them on Giannis. I'm not worried about Middleton. I'm not even worried about running jump man. I'm not worried about him. His game is so dumb. It's so one-sided. It's easy to shut down if you have a brilliant coach like Spo. It's easy. Spo is going to absolutely destroy Budenholzer. He has a week and a half to do it. He's done it before. He's going to do it again. The best player on our floor will not play 1 minute a game. The best player on our team will not play 1 minute a game, and that's Erik Spoelstra. And I'm done.
And then Ange, what do you think?
I feel confident going into this matchup considering the run we had last season in the playoffs versus Milwaukee. And another thing I want to bring up that's also a valuable asset to both sides, Jimmy Butler didn't play one game this year versus Milwaukee, and he barely played last season, if I'm not mistaken. If he played one, I don't really remember. But all I know is that come playoff time, he was definitely on the floor, and we beat them in 5 games, almost swept them. The number 1 seed last season almost swept them, with Jimmy Butler being present all of those games. And I feel like that really shows you that how much everything can change when Butler's not on the floor and when he is, especially against a team like that. I'm pretty sure we caught them really off guard with all of that as well. And I'm sure people saw the media interview with Giannis. He said, I don't know if this year is going to be any different. I'm not going to lie to you. And Joel made the joke where it's like if he probably saw that picture of jacked Jimmy and got scared. So, if I was the Bucks, I would be petrified. Man literally has Giannis arms. Anyways.
Sheesh.
Hey, my profile picture is hunting season.
Fear no deer, for Jimmy G Buckets is here. Anyways, but yeah, no, I feel really confident going into this. Like Jake said, with the addition of Jrue Holiday, it's probably going to be a little bit more challenging than it was last season, but it's nothing we can't accomplish. Robinson's had a very dominant 3-point shooting season, as well as Kendrick Nunn, a very confident mid-range shooter, like Clutch said. And with the addition of Ariza and Dedmon, and hopefully we'll see, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Yurt Steven in the playoffs, come playoff time. He's easily the tallest person on our team.
Yeah, we're not going to see him.
We're not? You don't think so?
We won't
no shot.
No chance he plays a minute in this playoffs.
It would take 7 injuries at least.
Damn.
He'll be a valuable asset long term, but not this season.
Watch out for him next year, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude is
but
big.
yeah, forget I said that anyways. But yeah, with the new assets we picked up, I feel like it'll be a little bit easier on our end because, like everyone else said, we replaced Jay Crowder's talent with Ariza as well as Dedmond on the defensive end with the big men. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
I want to touch on one thing quickly. I've seen a lot of Heat fans that once Oladipo got hurt, they kind of just gave up on the season. They're like, yeah, you know.
I forgot to mention that. I feel like it would be a lot different with Oladipo on the court. Just dominating on defense.
It's actually a blessing in disguise because we're gonna see the real Kendrick Nunn in a contract year in the playoffs. So we're gonna see what he really has to offer. It's gonna be fun.
No, it's 100% true. The other side of the coin though is, yeah, we lost. Sorry, Flash in advance. We did lose Kelly Olynyk, and we lost.
Oh my God, it's nothing already with this guy.
I knew you were going to be mad. I mean, just looking towards last year, though, Kelly actually, you know, he shot 45% from three in the series last year, and obviously, you know, Jay Crowder was in my mind that stuck out as him, you know, shooting out of his mind that series, and people were like, well, we lost them. We also lost Avery Bradley, and people kind of gave up on the year, but people forget that, you know, we're playing a nine-man rotation at most, maybe even an 8-man rotation some games. And so where we lost Kelly and Avery Bradley, there's a good chance one of those two was not going to be in our rotation anyway. And, you know, replacing one of them with Dedmon is going to be Kelly. It's huge. I mean, what he can bring to our team off the bench with a low post presence against a team that, you know, Brook Lopez is solid, but, you know, he definitely by no means any longer a dominant low post presence.
He's soft.
I think it's going to bring a lot for us. And I really do like our 9-man rotation much better than theirs. I mean, obviously you can argue that their you know, with Giannis, you know, maybe their maybe their big three is better than our top three, but I'm taking our 9 over their 9 every single time, unbiased.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah, I think our playoff rotation this year is better than, like on paper at least, is better than the playoff rotation we had last year. Like overall in general, like obviously a lot of things have to go right.
We have two full team. We have 2 full teams, Scotch.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And the thing is, now with so many more players, I mean, now we have really other than Jimmy and Bam, we're looking at our guard rotation. We got Jimmy. I'm sorry. Other than Jimmy and Bam, we got Goran, we got Hero, we got Nunn. And if you want to consider Duncan a guard, just the fact that we have all 4 of them pretty much playing at a high level towards the end of the year, it doesn't take all 4 of them to win games. It really would only take a good game from Jimmy and Bam, and only really 2 of the 4 need to be on in a given night for us to beat the Bucks. And I don't think that's too much to ask. I really don't. And I think at this point, Nunn is, you know, I don't want to jinx anything, but he looks like a shoo-in to have some good nights just based on how hot he's been. So I really like what we're looking at. And also people forget, the refs hated Duncan Robinson last year, and he was just constantly in foul trouble over the worst fouls I've ever seen in my life, by the way. But he only had 9 points a game last year in the series, and just him, you know, kind of normalizing and you know, getting back to what he can do. You know, I think they didn't even see our best last year, which is crazy, and I think they're not prepared for it.
And they're even less prepared this year because they saw the version of the Heat that doesn't have Jimmy Butler, and we know how different the Heat team is without Jimmy Butler. It's a complete 180. Sometimes they look like the Sioux Falls Skyforce, like when Jimmy doesn't play. So, like, I think they might actually have their guard down this year because they're like, okay, we beat the Heat by like 40 something points in the beginning of the season, and we also beat the Heat this time around at the end of the season, so we should be fine. But
you got to keep in mind, Jimmy wasn't present for either of those games.
Yeah, they really underestimate how much. I'm sorry, it's straight up to saying it. How much of a freaking like psychopath Jimmy Butler is in the playoffs. He's like crazy. He's a straight lunatic. So I think they underestimate that a lot. Underestimate.
My favorite Miami Heat quote ever is, "You get me there, I'll win. You get me there, I'll win." That's Jimmy.
He proved it like against the Lakers. I mean, we didn't win, but I mean, he did everything humanly possible. And if we see anything like that, Jimmy, in round one, they're gonna have some major problems. One thing I want to touch on, just on the other side of it, while we're still on the topic of how things have changed since last year, I've watched a lot of Bucks basketball this year. I think they've been on prime time more so than I had hoped, but I've watched a lot. And one wrinkle, I guess, just to argue the other side, Giannis looks to be a little bit more of a complete player this year, and their offense isn't really predicated on him getting the ball and running ISO and just driving and dishing. They're actually using him a little bit in a similar way as we use Bam. He's been screening and doing dribble handoffs a lot and kind of rolling, which I like that. And also, he's been able to get down low and polishing off some of his post moves. He's got a kind of a nice little post game now, and his mid range is a little bit better. And I think if we can force him to take those shots, that's kind of where our bread and butter will be.
Sometimes. Do you see any similarities with the dribble handoff between like Bam and Duncan with like Giannis and DiVincenzo at all? Like, do you see any similarities with that type of offense?
100%, and it's not just him. He's been doing it with Chris Middleton. Bryn Forbes off the bench, who shoots like 45% from three.
We forgot about Bryn Forbes. Yep, good point.
Yeah, I mean they had to adapt. Budenholzer, everyone was saying he just didn't make any adjustments last year, and basically, if he didn't, his job would be on the line. And I do think, looking at their offense this year, it's a lot more diversified as opposed to last year. So I do think that, as I do think we've gotten better, I think they really have gotten better. And I think Giannis is a little harder to guard. So I think we're going to have to throw them different looks. We're not going to be able to do the wall all game. Like you guys, I sent someone shouted out Bobby Portis. He's been on fire this year, albeit at a low volume, but the shooting that they have is going to make it tough. And we know we overhelp. That's our thing. We overhelp and we leave three-point shooters open. And last year it didn't hurt us, and we just need to be careful and cognizant of the fact that our shooting got better.
We have to watch Portis and Forbes. We have to watch Portis and Forbes. Like, those are the people that nobody, like a casual fan, wouldn't think about. But that's what we need to watch, because that's what will hurt us.
For sure.
What Miami and especially Jimmy Butler do on defense, which makes them a whole nother level defensively, is that they take, I don't know if this makes sense, but they take educated gambles. So especially Jimmy, you see how most of the time he tries to jump out in front of a pass, he's taking it all the way to the other end. And I've never seen a player in Heat history, I'm sorry, Dwayne Wade, but I haven't seen a player in Heat history do that as effectively as Jimmy has.
100% true. And they have the Heat kind of set up almost like a trio of defense where, let's say you got like a guy like Trevor Ariza fronting on a man, you got Bam helping, and then you have Jimmy just waiting for him to throw a pass, and it's just like the tandem of defense.
They're putting Jimmy in center. They're putting Jimmy in center field.
Yeah, it makes it really tough to score.
You can put all the comparisons. Jimmy plays center field. He plays free safety. Like he does all those things because he has so much like space on the court, and he knows when to how to recognize space, and that's what makes him an elite player on defense, in my opinion.
There's just no denying that Jimmy turns into a completely different player offensively and defensively when playoffs start. And you can see that last season, the triple-double he dropped in Milwaukee in Game 3 of the Lakers game. So that just goes to show like how great he is. Like,
I think
he's always been
I'm glad to have a psychopath on my team.
Yeah. I think what we saw from Jimmy against Philly this year is what is close to what we're going to see in the playoffs, because Jimmy was a psychopath against Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's a little I think that he is kind of sick and tired of all the hate that he'd have gotten. I think if you ask a casual or just a random national media guy, they'll say, oh, that he had an off year. They're not really legit this year. Will Manso tweeted this, and I think we've all seen it, but it's important to bring up. The Heat started the season with a 7-14 record. It was brutal, and obviously that has a lot to do with the injuries and COVID. And, there was a point where I remember that game against the Sixers, we had like 8 guys and Gabe Vincent played like 38 minutes. Like,
that was the worst.
We started 7-14, but for the rest of the season, we were 33-18, which is exactly what the Bucks were. So, I mean, people just are really discounting us, and it doesn't make any sense.
I find it ironic that Milwaukee has that same 51 season record as us. So
Good. Hey, good. I think the snub on Bam on the DPOY and the snub with Jimmy and the snub with us overall. Watch. You want to instill hate and psychopaths? Because I think Bam is about half as psychopath as Jimmy is. Jimmy's the craziest person I've ever seen play basketball. I'm an MJ fan. I got 23 tatted on my chest, bro. Like across my freaking chest, like from MJ. Like it's somewhere over here. But that's the killer mentality, and Butler has that. And I haven't seen that since. I haven't seen a crazy person like that since MJ. Him and Bam remind me. I mean, like Loki, like this is light, like MJ and Rodman, like just crazy, just like. But Bam's much more like just. I want them to be that, like implement that, and I think they're going to. I think they're pissed off. They've been snubbed. They've been discounted, and they're good, and they're really good. That's the thing. It's gonna be a nightmare for anybody. Nobody wants to see us. Nobody wants to see the Heat. Nobody. Like you don't want to see. You don't just no.
I'm telling you,
we know, but nobody else knows. We know nobody else knows.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the Knicks. You haven't seen Knicks fans and Philly fans celebrate like they won a championship when Miami went to the other side of the bracket, because they won't have to see them until the Eastern Conference Finals if it gets to that.
They will never get to it. They don't want none. Nobody wants none. Nobody wants. The Nets might be the only people that want some, but they don't. I don't know. It's just crazy. I mean, maybe I'm just die hard, or maybe I'm too involved in basketball, or maybe I'm too hard of a Heat fan. But like, you don't want none of this noise. Like it's like no, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be all. I mean, I'm excited to see what they bring, but I know what they're gonna bring, and it's gonna be funny, and I can't wait to laugh if it works out right.
Yep.
Speaking of the Nets, I know this is probably going to happen in all of our wildest dreams, but to see the Celtics give the Nets a first-round exit, regardless how many games that series goes into, that will be the biggest slap in the face for Steve Nash, considering the team that they built up with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Blake Griffin. Previously, it was LaMarcus Aldridge, like just all that for nothing, basically.
I don't expect the Celtics to win, obviously, but I want the Celtics to make them sweat. That's what I want. Yeah. I want the Celtics to make the Nets sweat and have a little doubt in their mind for when
put doubt in their minds. Yep.
If the Celtics go at least like say this does happen, they go like 2-0 so far, then the Nets are gonna have to like wake up. I doubt that it'll ever happen.
What Clutch said is on point. Like, yeah, if they can put doubt in their minds, then they'll have it in the back of their head, and it'll change it up.
I mean, is their big three gonna be present, like all three of them? Because I saw something. I mean,
Jaylen Brown's out for the year. I mean,
no, I'm talking about the Nets.
They don't really have. Oh, who knows?
Because I think I saw something. I don't know how true it was, but they've only played 8 games, all three of them, something like that. Or like, there's only been very little games where they've played with all three.
Kyrie could want to go camping in Alaska or something, and like prove the world's not flat or something. You never know. Never know with them. That's a team of weirdos, honestly.
It's such an odd dynamic that they have. But one thing I wanted to go back to the Heat on is, what the NBA did last year is they messed up. They messed up big time because they gave Jimmy a taste of what it's like to be in the NBA Finals. And now he's going to do everything in his psychopathic mind to get back there because he tasted it. He was so close to it. He was 2 games from it.
He would have had it if Dragic and Bam hadn't got hurt.
Yeah, he has now. I think this season he has a lot more to prove than he did last season. He wants to prove that he can get back there. He wants to prove that he can be the alpha on this team that leads the team back to the NBA Finals.
100%. He's just not a guy you want to add any motivation. He's one of the most motivated, hardworking players I've ever seen in my life. And just kind of, the discounting that's gone on all year. I mean, listen, it might end up benefiting us. I really would love to see the accolades. I would love to see Bam get recognized. I would love to see Jimmy get recognized, but they don't care. That's the biggest part, and the best part about them is they're not in it for any kind of individual accolades. They want a ring, and they want the hardware, and that's really
it's fuel to the fire. It's fuel to the fire.
Yeah, it really is. We're going to be seeing that Jimmy, against the Lakers, or that Jimmy against the Minnesota Timberwolves in practice. That's what we're going to be seeing right now. We're going to be seeing top tier Jimmy. And I actually really like the fact that the play-in tournament. I like the fact that we've had a week off. Because obviously Jimmy playing, he plays big minutes. This year I think he's been like somewhere around 33, 34 a game.
He's got more rest this year than he ever has in his life.
Yeah, he got a lot of rest.
Career, NBA career.
Yeah, a lot of rest, and also guys like I think Hero, when he got hurt and was out for a couple weeks, I think that really also helped reset his shot and also kind of his conscience a little bit. We saw him struggle a little bit this year, especially nearing the trade deadline. But he's been pretty much on fire since he's gotten back. And that's another thing, Hero was a huge part of our playoff run last year. And I know it's easy to say, yeah, well, now we have Nunn, and that's the truth. But I think that it's going to be different guys on different nights. There's really no one except for the top players in the NBA you can rely on day in and day out. So the fact that we have multiple options of guys that can pretty much go off and explode for 2025 with ease, I think it's going to be huge. And I really, really do hope we see the return of Bubble Hero, whatever people want to say, because the dude loves the big moment. I think, people wanted to discount him. We wanted to get rid of him. And I think he also is a guy that now has a chip on his shoulder, and he's trying to say, no, I'm here. I already done this. Last year I was great, and I'm going to do it again and prove everyone wrong. So I think like we've been saying,
he's got the kahunas to do it.
Yeah, and listen,
he can do it.
I also want to give this man his flowers, and no, to everybody's surprise, it's not Duncan Robinson. I want to give Goran Dragic his flowers now, because I think he's going to be a huge part of this, be coming off the bench. I think low-key Goran has a lot to prove, and I think he knows that because of all the talk earlier in the season. Yeah, he's washed. Why are we paying him $19 million? He's not worth it. Why didn't we trade him to get something better? Like the wash thing, I'm pretty sure he hears this stuff, and the way he's been playing at the end of this season has been a sign that he's going to show up again in the playoffs and do really good for us. And I think we as Heat fans sometimes, with Duncan out there, with Jimmy, Bam, we undervalue somebody like Goran, who before his injury was a 20-plus point per game scorer in the playoffs. And I honestly do think he can do it again.
No, I fully agree. And again, the week rest, a guy like Goran really benefits from it. I don't think he fully recovered from the torn plantar. I don't think we have to
give. Hey, Jake, we have to give props to Spo, because he's a master of minutes this year. Like, as far as conserving people, like it's been more than brilliant. Like, and it will hopefully it will show up in the playoffs, which that's the whole reason. Normally we're used to the mid-spring push with our team and how we play, but like everything's been derailed by stuff that's been going on and whatnot, and it's just so it's a little bit behind times, but it's going to be the same thing, and I think it'll be more vicious than ever this year, just for the many different factors that weigh in, and y'all have mentioned most of them, but I believe that he is going to really push the envelope this year with just what we can do, and like a big FU to everybody that doubted us and like what they think. It's just crazy. It's funny. It's a good position to be in as a Heat fan, I believe.
Yeah. Another thing, just to touch on kind of what a guy like Goran can do. So the Bucks, at least last year, they run a lot of drop defense, and so they're really going under screens, and they're letting shooters beat them. And honestly, I think this year, even more so than last year, we're equipped to beat them. We've been a little off and a little inconsistent with our 3-point shooting this year as compared to last year, but the trend is up. And I think that, we have enough guys that we can absolutely torch them, and they're not going to really be able to succeed playing that drop defense on us. We just have a lot of different looks. And if a guy like Goran is on, if he's on, firing on all cylinders, it's going to be great. And like you said, Jimmy, he only was playing 26 minutes a game this year. I think we did a really good job of, preserving him for the playoffs as much as we could because we've needed him this year a lot. And recently he's definitely stepped it up. So I have big hopes for Goran, man. I really think that he's going to kill it.
You
To
brought up the
everyone
point
out there who
of
said that Goran Dragic was washed, I just want to let you know. Wait till playoff time comes, so
Yes,
you'll
ma'am.
see what you've been missing out on. You guys look like clowns, and then the same people that called him washed after they saw him have that 20-point first quarter, they're like, "Oh, whoa, Goran Dragic is the GOAT." Whatever. Shut up, please.
Yeah,
No.
like Heat fans are weird in the sense that one day Goran is washed and a waste of money, and the other day hang his number in the rafters. He's better than Tim Hardaway.
No,
He's better than Tim Hardaway.
I've never wavered from Guggy. Guggy's the GOAT, bro. Just rest him. That's an amazing player. Just get him rest. He's younger than me, and I'm old. Like, damn, he's younger than me, and I'm old. Like, damn, rest him, bro.
I'm telling you this. I don't need Goran Dragic in the first 70 games of the season. I just need him to be ready for the playoffs. That's all that matters because he's a top-tier performer.
You've brought this up before. He doesn't show up for all the games. He shows up for the games that matter to help put those points up on the board. Maybe when Jimmy's not there, whatever. But
nailed it. And another X factor that people may not think about, but we know. I mean, Ariza is going to be seriously a big deal in the playoffs. Like it's a Jay Crowder 2.0, but I believe I like Ariza better. I like his length better. I like his 3-point accuracy better. Minus Crowder in the playoffs last year, he went nuts. But I like Ariza's consistency from long range. I like Ariza's length a lot, defensive side a lot. I think it'll be interesting. And Kendrick Nunn also. I think that you're going to be giving him the spotlight in a contract year, and he can ball. I mean, we talk crap about him sometimes, but not really. I mean, he can ball. That dude's a baller. He's going to get 15
Duncan Robinson contract year as well.
Yeah. It's Nunn and Duncan Robinson's contract year, both. You're right. Yep. So they're both going to. I mean, we're obviously going to retain Robinson. We're not letting him go, but he's going to get thrown $15 million from some team, and we're not going to be able to match that. I mean, if we want to retain Dragic or if we want to, explore other options, we're going to have a lot of thinking to do, I believe. I think Nunn's going to give us a lot of thinking to do this offseason about how he does in his playoffs, hopefully. I know he is, and he's built for this moment. So he's a baller. He's like a little mini Jimmy. He's crazy too. Nunn's nuts. He's got that heart.
It's true. One thing to touch on, just based on what you just said, I think Ariza is a really good addition against the Bucks. Crowder is an elite defender. There's no questioning it. But he has a 6'9" wingspan. And Trevor Ariza has a 7'2" wingspan. And that man is really, really long. Obviously, Crowder might be a little stronger, but I think Ariza is a little bit more switchable. And I really do like Ariza on Giannis. And I think that, in order to preserve Bam for the series, we're not going to be able to put Bam on Giannis for 48 minutes. It's just not going to happen. But I really, really like Ariza fronting on Giannis with some help on the back. I think that's going to be really effective for us. And like you said, obviously Crowder was shooting way above his means in the playoffs, and it helped us. But I trust Ariza more so in the long run. And I think he was the best we could have done.
We have three dudes to throw and run and jump, man. We got Jimmy, Ariza, and Bam.
So you're talking about Trevor Ariza, and I could talk about Trevor Ariza for days because I really appreciate that man so much. If you put him up against like what Jay did last year, yes, Jay Crowder, he's bigger in the sense of he's heavier. He was heavier, so he can hold his ground maybe a little bit more. But I do think Jay is the better shooter, even though he's very streaky. But I think to be honest, and it's not even close for me, I think Trevor Ariza is a way better defender than Jay Crowder. I think it's not even close. And he's not the shooter Jay Crowder is. And I think you can get the shooting out of somebody else, like Duncan, when he shows up in this series. But in terms of defense, I just think Trevor Ariza's at 35 years old. I think Trevor Ariza's far and away the better defender than Jay Crowder is.
I feel like he really filled in that spot for us, considering we were all very upset that Jay Crowder was no longer going to be with us coming into this season. So I feel like Trevor Ariza really filled in that gap offense and defensive wise. So I'm just glad he came in and did what he had to do and just did all that for us.
And he's
I'm
a very
glad he
respectable
cleaned up
corner
Mo
three-point shooter.
Harkless's mess because
Say
Mo
that,
Harkless
Clutch?
ain't it.
Mo Harkless is doing pretty well in Sacramento. I can't lie. I feel like he's flushing better there.
Mo Harkless is doing well in Sacramento, a team that sucks, and Kelly Olynyk is doing well in Houston, the team that
another
sucks.
team that sucks.
They don't matter anymore.
You put crappy players on crappy teams. Watch what happens. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's apples to oranges. It's easy. These are NBA players. Their whole lives they've been the best guy in their team. So to have a guy like you said, Mo or Kelly to go and dominate on a below average team, it's easy. What is hard is to come in with limited minutes and limited shots and make an impact. Because a lot of these guys are used to shooting a lot with their volume. I think Kelly for sure is a volume shooter. And yeah, I mean, some guys aren't meant to be role players, and they're not really effective role players as much as they would be, just all around a bad
Kelly's
team.
nice. I don't know if we Kelly's nice. I don't know if we utilized him.
Oh, you froze.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's so much that we didn't utilize Kelly. I just feel like he just needs volume. I mean, he's always, even in the finals when Bam was out and he got more shots, he was a little more effective. But he's just not a guy that really has ever, he'll go off and have 5 games in a row. He'll shoot 40% from 3 or higher, and then he'll just go on a slump of 2 of 27 from 3. That's just the way he's been. And when you're a contending team, I want consistency, and that's what we've brought in. I feel like the guys we have all, I'm looking at our whole roster right now, our whole playoff 9, and it's a lot of consistent players.
Yeah, Jake, you mentioned this characteristic of a player that maximizes limited minutes, and I think that moves us right into Dwayne Dedmon and how amazing he's been playing. Because on the court at center, it's either Bam or it's Dedmon, nobody else. Yes. And Dedmon has played minutes that have started runs without Bam and without Jimmy on the court. Him and that little trio that we saw at the end of the season of Goran, Hero, and Dedmon has been really good. And also when Bam goes into the bench and it's Jimmy and Dedmon, they seem to like almost instantly form a nice little chemistry together. Jimmy finds Dedmon, and Goran is a natural true point guard. He tries to find a big man in the pick and roll. So they're always trying to find him, and he's always doing good. He's getting the offensive rebounds that we didn't get last year. He's doing a lot of stuff that we were missing on the team last year. So I think Dedmon's going to be great. Even if he plays 10 minutes a game, he's going to be great.
Yep. Amen.
Huge addition.
Amen.
And the thing is, too, just like you said, coming in doing in unlimited minutes, I love the mantra, everything happens for a reason. I love it because, everyone was so upset when we couldn't get LaMarcus Aldridge and he retired. Obviously, I wish him the best. Hopefully his health as well. But if we got him, we might have been screwed. We wouldn't be here. And the same goes for Andre Drummond. I mean, you can say he's a very polarizing player. I'm of the opinion that I would genuinely rather have Dedmon unlimited minutes than Drummond. Maybe I'm just biased, but from what I've seen and how Dedmon fits on this team, it's a puzzle piece. He fits perfectly in. And like you said, Flash, him and Jimmy immediately clicked, and it's almost beautiful to see. And a lot of Heat fans. I remember one time in the Heat versus the World chat, there was a huge argument. What's our biggest need? Is it a ball handler? Is it a shooter? Is it a defender? And a lot of people said it was a center, and we're hoping that we would trade for a center, or obviously get Drummond. And a couple people mentioned Dedmon, but it was really slept on. And I just think that obviously with the Heat being such an incredible organization, we knew what we were looking for, and we weren't panicking when we didn't get LaMarcus. We weren't panicking when we didn't get Drummond. We brought in a guy that I don't even know if he was planning to play this year. And just how brilliant Spo is and how brilliant this team is. We brought him in, and he's immediately. He's part of our playoff 9. It's going to be great to see.
I think the Heat go out looking for players where other teams don't look. So they're very good at finding players where nobody expects it to. They didn't expect – I know for a fact they didn't expect Dedmon to be an NBA player this season. No team did. I honestly think the Lakers would be much better off with Dwayne Dedmon instead of Andre Drummond. If you put Dwayne Dedmon in there, I think he would be a lot better for them.
It's true. And they wanted Whiteside too. I mean, people were going to look towards Whiteside.
Who is that? That's not even an NBA player. Who are you talking about? thought we were talking about NBA. I thought we were talking about the NBA here.
That's the starting center for the Shanghai Sharks.
The big three league next year.
That's Shanghai. Yeah, that's Shanghai. No, I'm
Ni hao, bro.
Ni hao. That's a ni hao. Whiteside over the Sharks, baby. Let's go. Of course. Well,
Whiteside's punching the air right now. Dwayne Dedmon is the best number 21 in Heat history. No question about it.
Yeah, he's impacted winning more than Whiteside ever has.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure he
won't rob us of $90 million like Whiteside did. So
I don't know anybody's ever won that number. I don't know.
Yeah, like do put good. We're not going to discredit him either. We're not going to discredit Whiteside, and I don't know how he just got into a Whiteside debate a little bit. But anyways, that he put up great numbers. He put up great numbers, but we were not a good team during that time span. We were not a very good team, except for that 2016 team. But it was more of us being led by the old guys, Dwayne Wade, Joe Johnson, Goran Dragic, those guys, not Hassan. And I just think. Like, yeah, he didn't attribute to winning, and Dedmon has been.
Was Rodney McGruder our point guard then?
He was just like a shooting guard. I don't think he brought the ball up, thank God. But it was an ugly time, man. Those were. I always see those tweets where our starting lineup is like McGruder, Wayne Ellington, like Jay Rich, and it's just like Babbitt. Babbitt. Like we went through it all in those couple years.
Bro, Henry
It was an
Walker.
ugly couple years, man.
I know you guys remember Henry Walker.
AKA Bill Walker. Oh my God.
I know Bill. I know you remember Josh McBob. You want to talk about Bob?
It was an ugly couple years. But that's why we were rewarded. One thing I will say though, I do think Dedmon might be the best 21 ever, but shout out to Vashawn Leonard, man. Not many people remember Vashawn Leonard. I'm pretty sure he was number 21.
Yeah, word up. Yeah.
He's a nice little scorer.
He's a nice dude too. I've met him a couple of times. I'm really good friends with Mark Strickland. He used to play for the Kings. He played for the Heat. Really good friend of mine, and he's buddies with Vashawn. So I met Vashawn, Tim Hardaway Sr. through Mark. They're both really cool. But he's 21. Yeah, Vashawn. Yeah, that's the dude, bro. He would stroke them threes, bro. He was nasty. I love him, bro. Big fan.
So without further ado, with this series going to start very soon, I got to ask you guys, what is your prediction for Heat Bucks and in how much games? We'll start off with you, Flash.
Oh man, I'm just going with the meme because I honestly think it's true. It's Heat in 5, baby.
All right, Jake, what about you?
Well, I was gonna say Heat in 6 until I saw the picture of Jimmy, and then I saw the Giannis interview, and now I'm saying Heat in 5. Has to be.
And then what about you, Jimmy? Are you joining the crew on this one?
Yeah, heck yeah. I can't waver on this one. Yeah, Heat in 5.
And what about you?
My inner Heat stan is saying Heat in 4, but realistically, Heat in 5.
Gentlemen,
clean sweep, Heat in 5.
Bring out the brooms, like Duncan Robinson said. Bring out the brooms. I love that video so much.
Classic.
Hey, shout out to my man on 790 again. I always shout him out, Brendan Tobin. You put on the monocle, put on the little top hat, put on your little nice, put on your nice little suit, and because it's gonna be a gentleman's sweep. You're gonna do it so gentlemanly.
Yeah. Shout out Tobin for real. I appreciate him coming on the show. That was cool. Big shout out Tobin. I love him.
But yeah, and then for me, my prediction, I feel like a clown if I didn't join y'all. So I'm going Heat in 5 as well. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Let's go, Joel.
Whoa.
Let's get him, baby. Let's get him.
Whoa.
Throw up the dubs.
Whoa.
So anyways, before we wrap it up, is there anything else we should hit on or?
Bam deserves Defensive Player of the Year, but that's another subject for another time. He Defensive Player of the Year in our hearts, of course, so it doesn't matter.
We need We need to GoFundMe for a computer for Jimmy Buckets.
Bam at least needs to make the
somebody please start that. I can't even look up stats. I'm having to go off the dome right now. Like, look at this thing. Like, I don't have much option. I have my cat up here. She's upset. Like, we need a new computer here.
Hey, for those of you guys who don't know who are listening, our friend Jimmy Buckets here destroyed his computer before the show
and destroyed a $1,400 computer. So let's start a GoFundMe for Jimmy Buckets $1,400 computer.
Damn podcast. It's all worth it. Go eat. It's all worth it, baby. Let's go. I'm good. Let's go, baby.
So
shows the passion. Let's go.
Is there anything else we got to hit on, or are we ready to close this one out?
Yeah, I think we're good. Pump for tomorrow. Let's do this.
I'm ready for this game.
Earned it jerseys. We got to get a dub in our earned it jerseys.
The hunt begins. The hunt begins.
The hunt begins. Fear no deer. Fear no deer.
Yes, sir. So without further ado, thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. Make sure to follow us at Heat vs. the World _. We'll see you guys next time with a brand new episode. And make sure to tell your neighbor or whoever you see when you walk across the street, tell them Heat in 5. With that being said, we out.